Hello everyone, I'm Ian from Creative Visuals, and today I'm going to be reviewing my Samsung Galaxy S9. As well, I'm in my basement of my new house and it's pretty empty, so that's why I'm here. It's kind of a weird set, but I will be getting some furniture in here in the future. Anyways, let's get right into this review. Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. The Samsung Galaxy S9 is one of the most feature-packed phones of 2018 so far. Despite this, the S9 and S9 Plus are nowhere close to the most exciting and popular phones this year, and the decline in sales this quarter reflect this. But if a phone that seemingly offers a little bit of everything the end user could ever desire isn't selling well, what is wrong with this feature-packed device? Or maybe, what is great about it? I have used the S9 as my daily driver for a little over 4 months now, and I feel I am ready to let you all know what I think of Samsung's latest and greatest flagship from the standpoint of someone who can't afford to upgrade their smartphone every few months. This is my real review of the Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus, the phone that will change the cell phone camera forever. The S9 and S9 Plus were released back in March 2018. They blew up their tech world with their claims of a revolutionary camera and its strikingly similar design to last year's S8 and S8 Plus. But I will get more into this further into the review. Let's start with the design of the device. The S9 is covered in Gorilla Glass 5 on both the screen and the wireless charging compatible back. That comes in the new lilac purple, as well as midnight black, coral blue, and titanium gray. Stuck between the two is a slim metal frame that is just wide enough for the power, volume, and Bixby buttons, due to that beautiful 5.8-inch Quad HD AMOLED Infinity Edge display with a tall 18:9 aspect ratio, 570 pixel per inch pixel density, 3D touch home button, and gorgeous colors that wrap around the sides of the device along with the rear glass to give the phone an incredibly comfortable feel in the hand. Before you put your case back on and stop picturing your device with both the front and the back cracked, what we do for wireless charging. On the bottom of the device, we see a headphone jack. And yes, it's not a mirage, that's a headphone jack in 2018. Thank you, Samsung. Beside this is a USB-C port, a microphone, and a downward-firing speaker grill that is now assisted by the earpiece up top for stereo sound, allowing you to comfortably hold your device while viewing content without muffling your speaker. The left-hand side has volume up and volume down with Bixby buttons, the right-hand side has power button, and the top has a single microphone. All the buttons are tactile, clicky, and feel nice to press. In the front of the device we have the love it or hate it, but no matter how you look at it, beautiful Infinity Edge display. Above it is the new and improved iris scanner, proximity sensor, earpiece speaker, and the 8-megapixel f1.7 aperture selfie camera. On the rear of the device, surrounding the big feature this phone offers, the camera reimagined. This 12-megapixel optically stabilized phase detection autofocus camera capable of 4K 60 frame per second video doesn't have one aperture, but it has two. All the way from f2.4 for beautiful landscapes down to f1.5 for your low light shots. Now I know this sounds like a bit of a joke and I kind of turned it into one because in comparison to mirrorless and DSLR cameras, it kind of is. But for a cell phone, this is actually a really big feature. Features like this are bridging the gap between bringing a camera and just using your phone. Point and shoot cameras have already actually pretty much gone off the market for most part because of the upgrades in photo and video capabilities of cell phones. This is a true improvement Samsung has done. No one else has done this on a cell phone. It isn't perfect though. For example, you're adding moving parts to a phone, and like we saw with Jerry Rig Everything, that's not always a good idea. And as well, it kind of makes a noise, but I'm not going to get that nitpicky. Powering the device is the current and most powerful hardware we see across most flagship Androids these days. Snapdragon 845, 4GB of RAM or 6GB if you opt for the Plus model for all your multitasking performance needs when you're on YouTube and finishing up that paper that is due tomorrow. Both the Snapdragon and Exynos variants have octa-core processors running at 2.8 and 2.7 GHz, For gaming, these powerful CPUs are paired with Mali G72 or Adreno 530 GPUs for buttery smooth performance. The storage on the S9 is also good with expandable storage via micro SD up to 512 gigabytes and either 64, 128 or 256 gigabytes of onboard storage. Out of the box, it will be running Android 8.0 Oreo, and you can expect to see the new Android Pie on it by at least 2020, I hope. I'm just kidding, but please Samsung, get better with your software updates. We want them faster. Anyways, to start, I want to go over my experience with the camera, and being that that is the main selling point for this phone, it better be good. The camera app has changed a lot. The modes are much easier to navigate, not quite on pixel level, but better. On these new menus, there are many modes including panorama, selective focus, super slow-mo, and even hyperlapse and food modes, and they all seem to work well. The S9, having one lens, struggles a bit with selective focus, but no phone has perfected shallow depth of field look yet, and if you want better shallow depth of field photos, you may want to opt for the S9 Plus with the dual camera setup so that it can pick out what is in the foreground and the background to blur that background. Panorama works wonders, auto also works well, but it overexposes a bit like a lot of Samsungs do. Hyperlapse is neat too and gives a cool effect. AR emoji is an obvious attempt to beat Apple's Animoji, and Samsung failed. They are laggy, not precise, and quite frankly scary. So where Samsung makes fun of the notch haircut, Apple can get back with the creepy AR emoji monster Samsung has cooked up. Continuing, to take full advantage of this dual aperture camera, you will have to use Pro Mode, which gives you full access to all your camera settings and does it in a simple way. It works well. For the front-facing camera, we also have selfie focus, which works better than I thought, and we also have panorama selfie, as well as AR emoji. Now back to the rear camera, the S9 Plus has a second telephone lens, as I mentioned, so if you're zooming in on things, that is the option that I would suggest going with, and sadly the S9 does not have that. The photos this camera takes in daylight are on par with all other flagships. Sharp, lots of details in the shadow, and punchy Samsung colors we all love or hate. Everything is normal here, nothing reimagined it seems, but when we switch over to the low light, this is where things change. That dual aperture camera kicks in and boom, f1.5, the low light capabilities of this camera are seriously outstanding. From the noise reduction to the quality that is kept at even high ISOs is truly outstanding. I am always impressed with the camera on the S9, but at night is when it truly shines and pulls away from everything else on the market. Now for many of us, photos are not the only thing we care about, and Samsung has not forgotten about video. The S9 is capable of recording 4K at a whopping 60 frames per second. It works well and footage is crisp, smooth, and sharp. The high quality frame rate combo does come with some downsides, including no optical image stabilization, and you can only record for 5 minutes because you don't want your phone to overheat. That's the limit they put on it, and I can understand this because luckily it records in H.26 format, which is great for us editors. Speaking of power, the S9 can record 960 frames per second at 720p, and it's kind of hit or miss, because you can only record for 0.2 seconds. When you get the action at the right time, it is absolutely amazing. The quality is pretty good, but the footage is just crazy. You would never think it came from a phone. I really like that feature. I would recommend if you buy this to pick up a case or a skin, and for sure a glass screen protector. The design itself is very similar to last year's S8, and with good reason. The S8 has a great design, so why change it? I feel like the S9 is more of the iPhone 6 to iPhone 6s situation rather than Samsung announcing a completely new phone. They took the downsides of the S8 and perfected it while keeping the good and making it better. I feel like they left a lot of features out of this phone because they want to save them for their big announcement next year, which is the Galaxy S10. The finger scanner has been repositioned below the camera rather than beside it, so people will stop trying to unlock their phone with the camera lens. As well, beside the camera there is the added blood pressure monitor, which works well right beside the normal heart rate monitor. Other than that, the design really isn't different. The bezels at the top and the bottom of the display shrunk a little bit, but you can't really notice it unless you hold it right beside an S8. As well, the iris scanner is about 30% faster, but I would still recommend using the finger scanner as it's just more convenient. In all, the design is premium, feels good in the hand, and it's pretty durable. The only issue I have is the paint came off my finger scanner. I contacted Samsung and they told me it wouldn't be covered by warranty, as they said this is normal wear and tear. I don't think that's normal wear and tear in 4 months to have all the paint come off any part of your phone, but to each their own. The speakers are extremely loud and sound really good, with a surprising amount of bass out of that downward firing speaker, accompanied by the highs from the front firing earpiece, as well as midtones throughout. And when you use your phone in landscape, you get that awesome stereo effect, and in all, the sound from this device is outstanding and above average. Not surprisingly, the call quality is great through that earpiece. It's very loud and clear, and nobody has ever complained about the microphones on my phone. They say that I sound perfectly fine. Now, a real big plus for me is that headphone jack. Not much to say here, it's a headphone jack, nice to have, end of story. Continuing on, that beautiful 5.8 or 6.2 inch OLED display with Infinity Edge is truly an amazing screen. Samsung is the best of the best when it comes to displays, and these do not disappoint, with very dark, deep blacks, very bright whites, and punchy, sharp colors, all on that Quad HD display makes it an amazing display that will not disappoint. The only thing that will disappoint is the battery life, especially when you're using max resolutions and brightnesses. Even with the power saving mode on, I'm getting about anywhere from 3.25 to 4.5 hours of screen on time, which is not bad, but either way, you're going to be reaching for that charger at the end of the day. The S9 has a 3000 milliamp hour battery, while the S9 Plus has a 3500, and I think they could have added about 500 extra to each of them just to play it safe, but you can just not expect to get through more than one day with either of them. Now, connections are great, no problems with Wi-Fi or data, and whenever we have that moment where everybody's worried because we're gonna run out of cell phone bars and we all tell each other how many bars we have, I usually have more than my family members and friends, so I guess that's just what it's like to have a flagship. The connections are really good with it. As well, it has Bluetooth 5.0, which works wonders. There's no delay between listening to things, so if I'm watching a movie through Bluetooth headphones, there's no delay and their lips do actually go with the sound, which is great. And as well, you can stream the sound to not just one, but two Bluetooth speakers, so you can get that stereo effect. Works pretty good. Moving on to the user experience with the operating system, with Samsung's skin over top of Android, it's what I would call a blurred version of stock Android. A lot of things here are still here that are in stock Android, like long pressing apps and gestures to get to the app drawer, but a lot is still Samsungified. Punchy colors, different app icons, and although it's not as bad as AR emojis, it is nowhere close to stock Android. It is Samsung. If you like their UI, use it. If you don't, download one of the hundreds of launchers from the Google Play Store. Everything runs great on the device, from multitasking to switching apps to streaming and leaving things open in the background. It all works great and it's surprisingly smooth. I've heard complaints of people with their Samsung S9 saying that they are laggy and delayed, and I have not had any of these issues. As well, I'm using good luck on it to see what future Samsung updates will bring. Links in the description if you want to check that out if you have a Samsung phone. There's not really much else to talk about here on the OS side of things. It is a 2018 Android flagship. Tall 18:9 display means it's easy to reach the sides, kind of hard to reach the top, which is where the one-handed mode comes into play. Along with this, some nice Samsung features is the always-on display, which displays your notifications and important information. As well, the 3D Touch home button is nice so that you can hide the navigation bars. I do wish that they put the 3D Touch all the way across the bottom so that there would be no need for the navigation bar at all, but it is what it is. With all of this out of the way, should you buy this phone? Yes and no. From the S8 to the S9, I would say no, keep your S8 and wait for the S10. It will be a bigger upgrade. The S9 is a refined and honestly perfected version of the S8. Like Samsung does, they packed a ton of features into these devices. There is an overwhelming amount at some points. From customizations in the UI to hardware, you're getting a lot for your money here. My feelings on the S9 is that it does everything you could ever want your phone to do, and it does a good job at it all. This is good and bad because you will have a phone that will never disappoint you. I could truly recommend it to anyone, but the issue is that other phones do certain things better. For example, the Google Pixel 2 has a better camera. The Huawei P20 Pro has better battery life. The iPhone X has better facial recognition. The OnePlus 6 is cheaper. The LG G7 has better speakers. The Vivo Nex has better screen to body ratio. But all of these phones have nowhere close to the amount of features packed into them as the S9 or S9 Plus. My opinion is if you need a phone that can do one thing and one thing good, I would suggest getting a phone that can do that. For example, if you want an amazing camera and you don't care about the rest, get the Google Pixel 2 XL or the Google Pixel 2. And if you want a phone that is the most well-rounded, feature-packed, and premium device you can buy on the market today, you can't go wrong with the Samsung Galaxy S9 or S9 Plus. Thank you for watching my review and have a great day.